I will start by reading Isaiah chapter 53, part of it, and then I want to share something. And it starts from verse 1. Who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. And you can continue reading the whole thing, but no, why not? I'll just keep on reading. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who will declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he was stricken. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. I will stop here. Look, this before I go to the main point, I want to share here. This verse 10, it says what? Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. And this is my question to you. How can the Father be pleased to bruise his son Jesus? How can that be? Do you think the Father didn't love Jesus? He loved him beyond comprehension. The Father loved his Son eternally and infinitely. So how can you understand that verse? Or how can this verse make any sense? It's because of this key point. When Jesus died on the cross, he did not die at the moment of his death. He did not die as the Son of God. He died as you and me. He died as sin. He who knew no sin became sin for us, that we might have the righteousness of God. So God treated Jesus at that moment, or saw Jesus, because Jesus literally became you and me. He became that sin. And that's how it pleased the Father, because the Father is righteous and eternally perfect. And when he sees sin in front of him, darkness, he cannot stand it. It's too painful for him, and it upsets him so much. And so when he saw Jesus at that point, Jesus was you and me. That judgment, that destruction he was preparing for, because that's the nature of God. He is light, we are darkness. And if he does not if that anger of God does not subside, he cannot rest. And so Jesus became that how do you say it? I think there is a word, propitiation or something. Anyway, yes, Jesus stood in the gap, and the Father punished him in our place, because he did not just take our sin on himself and he was still that Jesus. No, he became darkness, he became sin on our behalf for us. But I will go back, I will go up there, and I want to share with you something. Yeah. The point of this video is that people say, I want to know Jesus. But if you want to know Jesus, you must know his suffering too. You cannot know Jesus without knowing his pain and suffering. If you want to know him more and more and in greater measures, you must know what it means to suffer like him. Some people are going to be like, Samir is always talking about this suffering bullshit. And anyway, I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. You want to know Jesus, you have to suffer. And he was why? Because when you know Jesus, you are an instrument of healing to this world. But you cannot be an instrument of healing to this world until you have been hurt yourself, and then God heals that. You go through the pain, you go through the suffering, and you come the other side, and Jesus, you know him through that pain, because he went through it. So you know him as you are going through that pain. He brings you out. He gives you the ability, the grace to be able to minister to other people going through that same thing. So he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. So to get peace, he was chastised. For us to get peace, Jesus was chastised. And some people will say, okay, so he was chastised and now we can get the peace. Yeah, he can give you peace, but then if you want yourself to be an instrument like him, to minister to other people who don't have the peace, or to heal the wounded, to heal those who are in pain and suffering and imprisonment to various things, and lonely and broken. If you want to be an instrument, you also must suffer like Jesus. Not, of course, not to the same degree, but he comes to live in you, and he is replicating his life through you. If you are his, and he wants to use you to heal people and to free people from their pain and oppression and all that, him living through you is like he is Christ living in you. So his life will happen through you too. And without that, you cannot be fruitful in the kingdom of God. So this you need to be afflicted, you need to be bruised, you need to be hurt, you need to suffer. That's how it is. If you don't suffer, you will not know Jesus, and you will not know the power of his resurrection. Because in those places of suffering, in those places of death that happens in your flesh, the life of Jesus, his resurrection power, takes those areas and mends them, and then allows you to be able, from that, it becomes yours, and then you are able to minister. You're able to heal the sick, the broken, the lonely, and all that. So the bruising has to happen. You need to be bruised, and when you are being bruised, it's painful. You will cry, you will mourn, you will weep, your soul will be bruised and bleeding, and there is a lot of pain. You have to go through it. Because why? Look, the world is in a lot of pain. There is a lot of suffering out there. Look at look at the news a little bit, and you will see the pain happening. You drive on the or walk around and see people, they're mentally not there completely. People are sleeping on the concrete, and they're not, women not having a place to rest, and no showers, and look at the Middle East, look everywhere, hunger in Sudan, people are displaced, the whole world is suffering. And so if you want to bring a change in this world, if you want God to use you, some people don't like this word, for God to use you, whatever, God to help you be a change or a light in this world, and bring and make something different in this world, you have to also go through that pain and suffering, to varying measures for different people. But without you understanding that pain and going through it, you cannot have empathy or understanding, or you will not care. You want to care, you have to you have to walk in other people's shoes, and to know their suffering and their and pain, to be able to minister to them properly and correctly, and for God to give you that grace to become like a conduit for his healing power and his love, and yeah. So people read Isaiah 53 and just think, oh, Jesus did it for us, and but if he comes to live in you, you also will have to go the same way. You will be rejected. But see, here it says what, you will be judged, you will be rejected. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. You will have grief in your life. You have to have grief in your life. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. People will reject you. They will see your life as darkness or dark. They don't want to spend time with you because your life is just miserable to them, and they want to be happy all the time. They want to feel good, and that's how it is. Nature, human nature. Every man wants to feel good, and that's how it is. But yes, so God will take you through all that journey, and that's how it is. The kingdom is like there are hierarchy of the greater your suffering, the greater your pain compared to others in the kingdom, the more glory and the more honor and the more fruit you are going to produce in the kingdom. And only God knows that pain that you go through in your soul, in your heart. He sees when no one is seeing anything. He sees, he knows everything, because he's suffering alongside you. He knows everything, your tears, your pain, your cries, your prayers, everything God knows. And so that's why Jesus said, when you pray in the private place, like even a word in your heart, wherever, no one sees, but he sees, and he rewards you for that. So yeah, be blessed. If you want to know Jesus, you have to be willing to suffer. If you are not willing to suffer and you don't want suffering, you will not know Jesus. That's how it is. So at least pray that God make me willing to go through that suffering, because I do want to know you. Quick tackle. People ask, but why does it have to be through suffering? And the reason is simple. There is a kingdom of darkness ruling at the moment, and they will not want you to bring the kingdom of righteousness, the kingdom of God, to rule. They will oppose you and do all they can to stop you from establishing the kingdom of God. And so there is a battle happening. Jesus said, the kingdom of God suffers violence, and violent take it by force. what that means is that there is a fight. There is a fight happening, and if you are a threat to the kingdom of darkness, if you are a threat to removing them from their seats of power and establishing God's kingdom, they will oppose you. They will fight you. They will not allow. They will not want to let you rule and bring God's kingdom, to establish God's kingdom. So that is where the suffering comes from. The suffering comes from the enemy wanting to block you from establishing God's kingdom. But the funny thing is, we know who's the winner, and Jesus already won, and the kingdom of God will be established and is being established. And that's why I said in a video prior to this one, align yourself with the winning side. Align yourself with Jesus.